Hi there everyone. Hi, it's Lindsay from Edward Bear. Really missing you. How are you all? Some of your brothers and sisters will have gone back to school. Are you going to be going? I wonder. We still can't have Edward Bear yet, can we? So that's really sad. But never mind, we can still see each other like this, can't we? Shall we do a little bit of our Edward Bear song, how we do it normally? Shall we sing? Will you sing with me? We're pleased to see you at Edward Bear, Edward Bear, Edward Bear. We're pleased to see you at Edward Bear on a Thursday. We light the candles and ring the bell. Now that we can do both of those things, can't we? Look what we got here. We can light the candles. Right, here we go. Now, who's the first one for? Who's that one there for? Who does Janet say that's for? She says it's for Jesus, and it brings Jesus into our hearts and into our heads. He's all around us. He's right here now with us. That's wonderful. Now, who's the next one for? Let's light a candle here. This one is for anybody you're worried about, anybody who's got a poorly, who's not well. Should we light that? Right. So let's think of all those people who may be poorly today with a cold or a sore tummy or somebody who's in hospital. But let's also think about the lovely things too. So some of you got birthdays, haven't you? I know you will, and we're not there to sing happy birthday, but let's think about you too while our candles are alight. So we light the candles and ring the bell. Oh, we do. We ring the bell. Who do we ring the bell for? We ring the bell to tell everybody in Ashbourne that Edward Bear has started. Now, I've got a real treat for you now. I'm just going to put these candles to one side. I've got a real treat because Peter's been writing a story about
Hello.
Edward Bear. Here he is. He's going to come and sit where I am and he's going to tell you a story. Are you ready?
Well, it's lovely to see you all again. I hope to be part of you again, and I hope you're sitting comfortably. And I want to tell you a story about Edward Bear. Edward Bear makes friends. Edward Bear knew he was a very fortunate bear. Most of the time, he was very happy. For so long now, he'd been part of the St. Oswald's Praise and Play group for under fives and their carers. A chance for the very young to gather together to play, listen and learn, and for the carers to have time to share their experiences of parenting. He sat in the toy cupboard and watched all the activities of the church nearby. People coming and going all the time. On Thursday mornings, he was brought out of the church centre and sat in the hall, right amidst a really busy, happy time. Sometimes he was taken over to the church as well, where he rang the bell and told stories, and played their instruments and sang, and then prayed, and then headed back to the hall for food and more fun. But he was becoming rather sad. He saw all of this going on, and knew that this was the purpose of the church, for people to be together, to have fun and to share God's love. And yet he sat in his room 6.5 days a week, and he was becoming lonely. He thought about this and realised that perhaps some weeks ago, when he was cuddled by a little child crying, that he began to realise he was crying inside as well. And as they sat together and she cuddled him and hugged him, he felt very warm and happy. Ever since that experience, he began to realise that he simply wasn't just a teddy bear. Edward Bear could see that all the people who made the lovely food were happy doing so. The hot drinks they provided so freely to all the adults that came along, for making the snacks for later. They put out crisps, cut up carrots, grapes, placed biscuits on plates, together with small chunks of cheese. Then there was always a birthday cake with icing and lots of candles to blow out. He could also see people putting out chairs and tables every Thursday and in the church, and how they got out all the toys from his cupboard, always with a smile. He saw that this takes a lot of energy. And all those people who came along with their children, sometimes looking really tired and thrilled, or at least pleased, to be able to greet each other and sit down and have a coffee and talk, while their children roared about on bicycles or little tricycles, or dressed up as princesses, or played in the home corner, cooking and making cups of tea, or played on the Play-Doh table, making very strange shapes. But there was so often lots of noise with much laughter. Perhaps this is what he wanted to be more a part of. As he sat and pondered on all of this, he began to ask, why was all of this being done? Why did people seem so happy and kind in doing these activities? Several weeks passed, and then, early one Thursday morning, the little girl, who had been crying, came into the room with her mother, and she picked up Edward Bear, who was sitting in the circle of chairs right in the centre of the hall. The little girl had brown hair and was called Daisy. She gave him such a big squeeze. This was amazing, and what's more, Edward seemed to have a real friend now, because Daisy took him round the hall. When she was playing, when she was dressing up as a princess, when she was hiding in the tent, and when she was squealing when running away from the boys on their bikes. And then magically, she took him over to the church. He'd only been a few times, and on this occasion Daisy held him tightly and headed towards the rope on which all the children were pulling, wanting to ring the church bell, to tell Ashbourne that the praise and play event was about to start. He was now part of this bell-ringing adventure, and he loved it. All the children and parents sat down together. They had a wonderful story and lit some candles, especially one for Jesus, to bring him into their hearts and minds. Then they had some prayers. They talked about perhaps people who were having a difficult time, people who were celebrating birthdays, and then about somebody who wasn't here. Perhaps they'd gone off on holiday, or maybe to have a small operation. Who knows? But it went on a little while. After the prayers, everyone got a musical instrument and started to sing and play. Edward just loved this sound. He wished he could play an instrument. Daisy played the tambourine very, very vigorously. By the time Edward went back to the hall, he was just buzzing. He'd had such a wonderful time, and he sat with his new friend Daisy as she had her healthy snack. And then, too, soon, she said goodbye, and off she went. Suddenly the hall was quiet again, and he was taken back into his cupboard. What an adventure it had all been. When he was sitting back in the toy cupboard, Edward thought about how it seemed to him that Jesus had been present in the church, and perhaps he was here with him now. Edward Bear was no longer alone in his toy cupboard. He had made 2 friends, and it would never be the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. That was brilliant. Well, I think it's time now for us to have our last song that we normally sing at Edward Bear before we come home. Are you ready? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, nod your head. If you're happy and you know it, nod your head.
If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, nod your head.
If you're happy and you know it, shout I am.
I am.
If you're happy and you know it, shout I am.
I am.
If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. Happy and you know it, shout I am.
I am.
If you're happy and you know it, do a four. I am. If you're happy and you know it, do a four.
I am. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, do a four.
I am.
Am.
Oh, I've had such a good time. I feel as if
Me
I've
too.
really seen you. Peter and I are so happy to have seen you and had some time together. So take care, keep well and safe. Remember that we all love you very much, as does Jesus.
See you soon.
Bye then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.